guys, it's Ty and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm back with another recent reads, and technically I just posted one of these, but in my last recent reads I was specifically talking about new releases that were mystery thrillers. So if you have not checked out that video, I will have that one linked down below in case you guys are interested. But in this recent reads, I'm just talking about everything else that I read. So we are going to go ahead and get started. So the first book that I have here is Road to Ruin by Hannah Lee. This is a adult fantasy, and unfortunately I had to DNF this one, which saddens me to say because it was one of my most anticipated reads for this year. And in this one, we're following three characters, but the main character that we're following is Jen. And she lives in this world where people are born with talents or they are born talentless. And people who are born with talents, these talents give them powers to do different things. In Jen's case, what she's able to do is become a courier, and her talent allows her to power her mage bike so that she can travel through the wastelands. So in the world, there's wastelands that separates each of the cities, and it's very dangerous. There's really weird creatures out there. The conditions are terrible, and there's a lot of storms that pass through the wastelands. So she has a job where she transports goods, some illegal, between the cities, and she gets paid for it. One of the things she also transport between cities is these love letters between our other two main characters, Prince Kadrin and Princess Rena. So she's been doing that for a while. So, basically she would pick up the love letter from Kadrin and then take it back to Rena and vice versa. So this one time when she is picking up a letter from Rena lets her know that she is tired of living here and she wants to go to Kadrin and she needs Jen to help her escape. Jen helps Rena escape and they are traveling through the wastelands trying to get to Kadrin. I DNF'd this at 139 pages in. I won't say that this was necessarily boring, but nothing was really keeping my interest while I was reading this. Every time I put it down, it was just really hard for me to pick it up. I did enjoy the world building and learning about the different talents that people have. So I explained what Jen's talent was, but Rena, she is able to throw up these shields, and I mentioned that there's a lot of terrible storms. So Rena is able to throw up a shield and protect herself, others, and even her own city from these storms. And I like that at the beginning of each chapter, there was either Rena's or Kadrin's letter to each other, and these letters are dated a couple of years prior to where we are at in the story. So you kind of get to see how their relationship has slowly been evolving. But I feel like once we got to the part where they finally escaped and they were just trying to make it to the other city, the story slowed down. And that did not help with me wanting to pick this up because the pacing just got slow. And then I also just wasn't buying into this love triangle that was supposed to be happening. We don't really know anything about Kadrin besides what we're getting in these letters, which aren't that long. And then we're told that, Jen has feelings for both Kadrin and Rena, and she doesn't know what to do about her feelings, but I just couldn't buy into that relationship. I just wasn't shown enough to believe that Jen was having feelings for both of them when all she was doing was transporting their letters. So yeah, I had to DNF this. If it sounds good to you, try it out. You might enjoy it more than I did, but yeah, I had to put this one down. The next one that I have that I literally just finished last night is 8 Perfect Murders by Peter Swanson. This is a adult mystery. And so in this one, we're following this guy, Malcolm. He is part owner of this mystery thriller bookstore. And so one day while he's working, this FBI agent Gwen comes in and tells him that she has a string of unsolved murders over the past couple of years, and she believes that they might be tied to a list that Malcolm put on his blog a few years prior. So what Malcolm did was he created this list of 8 perfect murders that were murders from a couple of his favorite mystery thriller novels. And so Gwen is asking Malcolm to help her figure out who is behind these copycat murders. I gave this one 2 stars. I really liked how this was set up to be a memoir. Malcolm is telling us his story. And eventually, as the story progresses, we learn that Malcolm isn't really a reliable narrator, and you start to question whether or not what he's telling you is true. I did like how the other novels that he got these 8 perfect murders were incorporated into the story, but I feel like at times they spent too much time explaining and talking about these other books, and we lost focus on the plot of this one. I will say I was surprised by the turn of events by the time we got to the end of it, but throughout this story, there are parts of it that were just really slow and sometimes boring, and I felt my mind wandering because I did listen to this on audio. I did find myself wandering when we started getting those parts where he was going into a lot of detail about these books. I had high expectations for this one because I think at the time that I picked this up, everybody was talking about it and everybody was giving it really high reviews, but this unfortunately just did not live up to the hype for me. So then the next book that I have here is Shaded Grove by Oliver Seneca. This is a young adult horror, and I was actually sent over an art copy from the author in exchange for a review. And so this one follows these 2 sisters, and they are on their way home from a haunted house tour. And when they're driving, it's like raining, the weather is terrible. They notice an old woman like on the side of the road, and they pick her up, and she starts to go crazy, which causes them to get into a car accident. And so when they get out of the wreck, they notice that this old lady is gone, and now they're at a site for a mental hospital called Shaded Grove. And so they start to see a lot of spooky things in this mental hospital, and they are trying to escape. I thought this was fun. I think this would be the perfect read for someone who is just getting into horror. There were some very creepy scenes in here. I really liked the relationship between the sisters because we do throughout the story get some background into them. And there are these chapters where we find out what was happening at that haunted house tour hours before they landed at this mental hospital. And I liked how all of that kind of like tied in and how they found themselves there. My only small complaint about this is that I wish everything just did not wrap up as neatly as it did. I was hoping for somewhat of a different ending than what we got, but overall I had a fun time with this, and I rated this one 3 stars. So my next 3-star read is Certain Dark Things by Sylvia Moreno Garcia, and let's just take a minute to like enjoy this cover because it is stunning. It was part of the reason why I picked this up because I honestly haven't heard a lot of people talking about it. But this one is a like adult urban fantasy, I would say. And this takes place in Mexico City, and we're following our main characters, Domingo and Adel. So Domingo is like this street kid, and he comes across Adel one day, and Adel is on the run. So her family is part of like this drug trade, I think. And so she is trying to get away from some people that are after her. What Domingo finds out is that Adel is a vampire. So in this world, there are vampires, but they kind of like live amongst the people. And so Domingo and Adel join forces so that she can get away from these people that are after her. I really enjoyed Domingo and Adel's relationship. I especially liked Domingo because I thought he was kind of funny at times, and I just liked their banter back and forth, and I liked the action scenes when we got them, and I liked how like the vampires were depicted in this, and like all of the background that we got into like why the vampires aren't really liked. But I wish that we would have focused more on the plot of the story, because I feel like we would see them trying to get away from these people, and then we would get a whole bunch of background into like the vampires, and it would kind of like go back and forth like that. But I wish that we could have just got some information about the vampires and then focused on the plot. So I did enjoy this one. Like I said, I gave this 3 stars, and if you are a Sylvia Moreno Garcia fan and you have not checked this out, I suggest that you do because it was pretty good. So I did read another book about vampires, and that is Silver Under Nightfall by Ren Chipeco. This is also a adult fantasy. So in this one, we are following our main character, Remy, and he is a bounty hunter. So in this world, vampires do live amongst the humans, but they're like separated out into different courts. There's like a first court, second court, third court, and so on. And so Remy and a group of other people, what they do is they go out and they kill rogue vampires. So they're killing any vampire that's not adhering to the rules. Basically, they're killing humans when they're not supposed to, and they kill those vampires. Otherwise, these vampires and humans are trying to coexist together. At some point in the story, Remy finds out that there's like this new breed of vampire, and there's this virus that's going around called the rot. And so the rot is basically infecting humans, and it's killing them, but it's bringing them back as these like really dangerous creatures. And so Remy ends up teaming up with two vampires, Sheldon and her fiance Zayden, and they are trying to take down whoever has created this rot. I gave this one 3 stars. I really liked, again, the depiction of the vampires in this story. I liked following Remy and Sheldon and Zayden. There is a romance that ends up forming between the 3 of them, which the tension in this I absolutely loved. I liked how we got like the explanation of the rot and just getting the scenes where people are being affected. There was like a lot of fight scenes in this that I really enjoyed, but I do feel like the pacing at certain points to me was a little bit slow. And during those parts of the story, it was a little bit harder for me to want to pick this up after I put it down. This is a chunky book, but I am interested in picking up the next book. I think this is just a duology. So with the way that this ended, I am curious to know where this is going to go next. So then the next book that I have here is Drowning by TJ Newman. This is a adult thriller. So in this, we are following these passengers on this plane. The plane engine exploded. And so the plane did a crash landing into the ocean. And these people are trying to survive. We're primarily following this father and his daughter, who are actually passengers on the plane. And then the father's soon-to-be ex-wife is she's some sort of like diver. Like they go out and they fix ships, I think, something like that. She's some sort of diver, but she has basically been called in to help bring the passengers off of this plane. I gave this one 3 stars. I read Falling a couple of months ago, if you guys remember, by the same author, and I really, really enjoyed that one. This one, not as much. I really, really enjoyed the action. I really think these are great like popcorn thrillers. I really do. But in this one, there were moments in here where it got really technical. When they were trying to figure out how they were going to rescue these people, and they were going into all of the behind the scenes of how they would actually do that and the mechanics and stuff around that. And like when they started talking about the repercussions if they did one thing versus another thing, that kind of stuff just lost me. And I don't think we needed as much like explanation into the rescue as we got. I would have rather them, focus more on like how the passengers were doing on this plane versus them trying to figure out how they're going to get to them, if that makes sense. I don't know. I did not like this one as much as Falling. However, I did enjoy it. It was really easy to get through. And I am curious about her new book that she just released. I think it's called Worst Case Scenario. I've heard kind of mixed things about it, but I'm willing to check that one out as well. So my last 3-star read that I have here is This Spells Love by Kate Robb. This is a adult romance. So in this, we're following our main character, Gemma. And she has a really close relationship with her sister and her Aunt Livy. And so her Aunt Livy has this like bookstore, but she has some spell books. And so when this first starts, Gemma has just gotten out of a 4-year relationship with her ex, and she is struggling with that. And so she comes together with her sister and her Aunt Livy, and they're trying to help her get over her ex. And so her Aunt Livy finds a spell book They perform this spell, and her really good friend Dax is also a part of this spell. They have to end up kissing in order to complete the spell. And so when Gemma wakes up the next morning, she wakes up in her same life, but it's a lot different than it was yesterday. And so in this timeline, though, she is no longer best friends with Dax. Through the whole book, she is trying to figure out how to get Dax to be her friend in like this new timeline, I guess is what we're gonna call that. And so she's trying to build this friendship up with him again. But at a certain point, she's trying to figure out if she wants to go ahead and try to redo the spell and bring her back in her previous life, because in this one, her and Dax have actually formed a romantic relationship, and she realizes that she would like Dax in her life as more than just a friend. I thought this was fun and this was cute. I like any books where we're kind of like traveling back in time, although it's not really traveling back in time. You know what I mean? I kind of like books with that trope. And I really like the character of Gemma. She's kind of like all over the place, but it's hilarious. I like her friendship between her and Dax. And it's not a secret. They both kind of have feelings for each other, but they are really protective of their friendship, and they actually think about what would happen if they got into a romantic relationship and it didn't work out. And I can actually appreciate that, because some people, when it's like friends to lovers, they just kind of jump right in without thinking about what if this goes wrong, and these characters definitely thought about that. I thought parts of this was just really hilarious. I like seeing Dax and Gemma build their relationship, and so I just thought this was a fun time. If you're looking for a cute, fun romance, I would definitely check this one out. So I have 2 4-star reads, and the first one that I have here is Blindsighted by Karen Slaughter. This is book 1 in her Grant County series. And so this one follows a medical examiner, Sarah, and her like chief of police ex-husband, Jeffrey. And so one day Sarah is at a diner, and she goes into the bathroom and she finds that a local college professor has been brutally murdered in the bathroom. Sarah and Jeff are tasked with trying to figure out what happened to this woman. And then like a couple of days later, they find another person that has been brutally attacked, and they find out that these incidents are kind of connected. I really enjoyed this. Now, everybody knows that Karen Slaughter really goes there in her books, and this is no different. I would definitely check out trigger warnings if this is something that you're thinking about picking up, because this gets super duper graphic when they are talking about how these people were murdered and the things that was done to them. I liked where this story went. However, I was able to predict what was going on. I just didn't get the reason why. But nonetheless, that did not stop my enjoyment of this. I really liked our characters, Sarah and Jeffrey. And there's a bit of like some flirtations going on, even though they are no longer together. So I really like that. Karen Slaughter has not let me down yet, so I'm excited to get to the next book in the series. So then the last book that I have to talk about in my last 4-star read, this is People Person by Candace Carty Williams. This is the same author that wrote Queenie. So in this, we're following these 5 siblings, but the main sibling that we're following is Dimple. Now, their father, even though these are all siblings, they're half siblings. Their father had 5 children with 4 different women. And so these siblings only were around each other one time when their father, like back in the day when they were all younger, kind of like gathered them up to go to the park and was like, hey, these are your siblings. You guys need to spend time together. But after that one day, they knew of each other, but they never really spent time with each other and got to know each other. So there's a situation that happens with Dimple, and Dimple has to now call on her siblings to help her get out of the situation. And this is like the first time that they've interacted in years. And so we're basically following them, helping Dimple with this situation. This book was hilarious to me. I'm not sure if it was supposed to be as funny as it was, but it was funny to me. The situation that she finds herself in, That is not where I thought the story was going to go. And it definitely does not tell you on the synopsis that this is where that story is going to go. So I thought that was a interesting place to take it, but I get that it was just a way to bring all of these siblings back together. Each of these five siblings, they definitely all have different personalities. Some of them are excited to get together. Some of them are more resentful, especially because they don't really have a relationship with their father. He is in and out of the story, and anytime he is in the story, you can just tell that he is very selfish. He is all about what he wants. And at a certain point in this story, these siblings have to come to terms with that's just how their father is. There's some conversation of how it is for people to grow up without their fathers in their life. There's some talk around, you know, the importance of having your family and being close to your family. And I just really like this. I really enjoyed the characters. My favorite character in here is the brother. I think he's the youngest one, Prince. He just says whatever, does whatever. He just is out here just living his life. He's almost going down like the same path as their father. Our main character, Dimple, she is literally insufferable. I am not the only one that thought that, because her siblings thought the same. She's very, very insecure. She's very emotional. Like, she will cry at the drop of a dime. And there is a really funny scene with like one of her siblings actually calls her out on it, because at first I thought it was just me. I was like, this girl is insufferable, but apparently they were all feeling the same way. If you enjoyed Queenie, I would definitely check this one out. The only reason why I did not give this 5 stars is because I don't think this story for me personally was as relatable as Queenie was. I think a lot of other people though could relate to the overall messaging in this story, but overall I really enjoyed it. So that is all that I have for you guys. If you have read any of these, let me know your thoughts down below. And again, I will have my previous recent reads linked down below that just talks about the new releases for mystery thrillers if you guys are interested. But I will see you guys next time. Bye.